That point, Muzan Alneel, the restoration of internet access, is that a sign that the junta feels that it's in the driver's seat? It can loosen the leash a little.
On that, I'll actually go back to what Mr. Marshall also said. It's clear that both the coup forces as well as the international community did not they misgauged the amount of the level to which the streets reject and will reject this agreement. And as for the international, of course, the return of the internet came from a miscalculation that it will be filled by thanks to Hamdok and agreeing with the New Deal and accepting it and maybe some celebrations, and that did not happen. What was clear, the mistake from the coup forces, from the coup government, including Mr. Hamdok and the international community, is that they totally ignored the resistance committees and they ignored the streets. And that's because the framework by which they deal with our part of the world does not include people's demands. It does not include human rights. The role of the international community has been a counter-revolutionary one, and even a rather racist one towards Sudan, not just over the past 3 weeks, but the 2 years before it. Since the first days of the coup, the special representatives of the UN Secretary General, the UK ambassador, the US envoy, among many other international diplomats, kept calling for a dialogue with the coup leadership and a return to a government that includes the coup leaders, regardless of the protesters killed in the streets, which is the current deal that they are welcoming. So this is what they always asked for. They asked for that.
But excuse me for sorry for interrupting, Muzan. But isn't that when Abdullah Hamdok, the prime minister, says, I did this because I want to spare more bloodshed, does he have a point?
He does not have a point, and that is something that we already heard. Those messages of stopping the bloodshed or chances of economic prosperity by rejoining the international community and all of that were already utilized by the previous deal 2 years ago. They were utilized to convince the public, and for a while it bought the previous power sharing set up some time where the Sudanese people waited, and so that they were still killed, and that regardless of whatever economic conferences and where they are held, or any other kind of aid coming from any international community, at the end, Sudanese people were getting poorer, inflation was getting worse, and people were trying to protest but being killed in the streets. Actually, the international community, including the IMF and the Paris Club, they kept passing their policies, utilizing the power sharing setup, where people are told that rejecting these policies means giving a chance to the military to return and weakening the civilian leadership. While the civilian leadership did not stand by the people, neither did the international community when the military killed the people in the streets as they protested desubsidizing basic goods or economic liberalization or the delay in serving justice to those who killed the protesters in the June 3rd massacre of 2019.
But as you heard Roland Marchal say earlier, inside of Sudan's opposition, it's such a wide spectrum, right? It goes from the Islamists all the way to the left wing, and there's all different. It's a very cosmopolitan coalition. How do you hold it together under these circumstances?
What matters to the Sudanese streets is holding together the opposition or the resistance leadership that puts forward demands that are related to people's lives, to increasing and increasing the chances, ensuring that criminal justice will be served against the military murderers, that economic justice will be served for the people of Sudan. And currently, those who are holding these demands and committing to it are the resistance committees, who refused even to join the meetings of the special representatives who wanted to call them into his dialogue initiative. And they publicly went with a statement saying that they're not interested in closed room politics. They're not interested in negotiation with murderers. This is a framework that is very difficult, I can see, for Western diplomats to understand about Sudan right now, and to imagine that people in Africa have clear demands that they will stick to more than they will stick to personal or political brands and just be calmed by an agreement by a bunch of old men in power in a closed room. And that's why they keep on failing on trying to provide an agreement that will bring stability. As your guest just said, stability can only be provided by satisfying the demands of the people. It was freedom, peace, and justice, and it still is. People were not kidding when they put out those slogans. And that's what it seems that counter-revolutionary and racist governments in the West just does not want to believe.